Upande wa miundo msingi na miundombinu ya taifa hili, wengi watamkosa Rais Mwai Kibaki. Na mtazamaji, mwili wake unapopelekwa katika chumba cha kuhifadhia maiti cha Referendum kisubiri siku ya kesho kupelekwa katika makao yake ya mwisho huko Othaya, Rais mstaafu mwenda zake Mwai Kibaki alishika hatamu ya uongozi mwaka 2002 wakati wa kikomo cha utawala wa KANU na Rais mstaafu hayati Authoritative Arap Moi wa miaka 24. Mtazamaji, yafuatayo ni makala maalum ambayo yameandaliwa na mwanahabari wetu Duncan Khaemba kuhusiana na utawala wa Mwai Kibaki alipochukua hatamu ya uongozi chini ya serikali ya mseto ya National Rainbow Coalition NARC.
Mwai Kibaki
aliposhika hatamu za uongozi kupitia serikali ya mseto ya National Rainbow Coalition NARC tarehe 30 Disemba mwaka 2002 kwenye bustani ya Uhuru, Rais wa tatu wa Jamhuri ya Kenya Stanley Mwai Kibaki aliyekuwa amekatiza utawala wa miaka 39 wa chama cha KANU alikumbana na mawimbi punde tu meli yake ya uongozi ilipong'oa nanga.
Mimi Michael Christopher Wamalwa,
makamu wake wa rais Michael Wamalwa kijana aliaga dunia miezi 8 tu baada ya kuingia uongozini na kuyumbisha pakubwa meli ya Rais Kibaki.
Definitely it was just like the stroke or sickness that President Kibaki suffered the very first month when part of his cabinet, who included myself, were in hospital after a plane crash. Those were events that were major setbacks in the government. It took the former President Kibaki a while to fully recover. But the government was running because he had the support of his cabinet and of the vice president, that is the late Wamalwa kijana. And it is like the late vice president waited until Kibaki got fully recovered, and then he left us, you know. Nobody knew he was unwell until a little into the government, and you could see he was battling something. So those two are setbacks.
Huku tawala za watangulizi wake marais Jomo Kenyatta na Daniel Moi zikiwa chini ya chama kimoja tawala cha KANU, utawala wa Rais Kibaki wa miaka 10 ulikuwa kupitia muungano wa vyama au serikali za mseto. Alianza kwa kuunda serikali yake chini ya muungano wa NARC mwaka 2003 uliohusisha vyama vya DP, Ford Kenya, SDP na LDP. Lakini kabla ya kwenda mbali, mgogoro ulianza kuhusu nyadhifa na wana LDP ambao aliwatimua serikalini mwaka 2005.
This was a government that had a reform agenda, and initially it did deliver largely on that reform agenda. So in spite of the difficulties, we were able to work together up to about, with difficulties I have to admit, up to 2005, when the cracks now became big fissures during the 2005 referendum. And those differences also manifested themselves in the constitutional review process at Bomas. And the result was the defeat of the Kibaki side of government during the referendum, the kicking out of the LDP wing and the sympathizers from cabinet, and the formation of the government of national unity.
We have to give it to him that he's the one who really had to bear the brunt of working with different political parties more closely than ever before.
Following the results of the referendum, The Kenyan people made their decision.
Baada ya kuwafurusha mawaziri wa asi serikalini mwaka 2005, Rais Kibaki alifanya uteuzi wa baraza jipya la mawaziri wa serikali ya umoja wa taifa, ambapo aliteua wanachama wa upinzani wa vyama vya KANU na Ford People.
Wale ambao mmeshaamua.
Baada ya uchaguzi tata wa Disemba mwaka 2007 uliozua tandabelua na mauaji, Rais Mwai Kibaki alilazimika kuunda tena serikali ya mseto na mpinzani wake Raila Odinga wa ODM. Mwafaka wa kitaifa ulioundwa nao wanachama wa hadhi kuu barani Afrika, marehemu Kofi Annan, marehemu Rais wa Tanzania Benjamin Mkapa na Mama Graça Machel.
It was a difficult government for Kibaki to manage. Not all was smooth, by the way. And if you remember, I think Kibaki had anticipated that there was going to be a coalition government, and that is why while we were in the middle of the negotiations in Serena, he started naming some cabinet, some people to certain cabinet portfolios, and what you could loosely describe them as that he named the ones that you would call extremely pivotal in the management of government, according to his framework of what he wanted to achieve. He literally filled all those positions. And then he left the 50% in anticipation of the coalition, but he left what you might call more of the social ministries, and not the ones that are extremely pivotal in the management of government. So that was Kibaki's game plan, and he succeeded. So when the serikali ya nusu mkate was now being made, some of us were then appointed to cabinet, and maybe some got, some of us became deputy prime minister with a certain portfolio attached to it. I was given the local government. Uhuru became deputy prime minister, but with finance as the pivot.
Local government extremely pivotal.
But remember, it was countered by the metropolitan ministry. You know, so that at any one time you are not completely in control of certain things. So you created the Nairobi metropolitan area, and then you create the local government, and you could see the conflict. So sometimes it would be very challenging working under those circumstances.
He had, looking back, I said he had an idea that he will have to share power with the ODM because they held half parliament while he held half. So I think his experience gave him the idea that eventually he will have to accommodate them. So when he came to form government, those ministries were not enough. ODM wanted more. So the ministries had actually now at that point to be split. That's why local government had to give birth to metropolitan. Most ministries were hyped to create, you remember the cabinet had over 40 ministries. Where else would they have come from without splitting? Yeah, but I would say that I would not call him shrewd and calculative. I would say he knew how he wanted government run, and he held each minister. He had given a docket to account.
Alisemekana kuwa kiongozi ambaye hakupendelea kuonekana mstari wa mbele sana, yani laid back, lakini angegeuka upesi kama mamba majini iwapo mambo yalionekana kwenda kombo na kudhibiti hali.
President Kibaki is somebody who gave you responsibility and let you apply yourself unless something was terribly going wrong. So even with those apparent divisions, each person was able to apply themselves in their ministry. and things went on quite okay, and the transformation of this country went on.
Kibaki was a very shrewd politician. You know, let's give it to him. Kibaki had been in the realms of managing government from the days of Jomo Kenyatta. All right? And then he also became vice president and continued to be Minister for Finance in Moi's government for some time. So he knew a lot about operations of government and what ministries can be pivotal. The truth of the matter is that when you are in Treasury, you really get an extremely good grip of what are pivotal ministries and what are not. So Kibaki's long tenure in the Ministry of Finance gave him a lot of understanding of how he could reorganize his government with his committed people or loyalists, where he thought that he needed somebody who would tell him as it is without blinking.
Anakumbukwa sana kwa kuwapiga msasa mawaziri wake, ikiwa ndio siri ya maendeleo aliyostawisha, ikiwemo ufufuzi wa uchumi.
When you're presenting a cabinet memo, he may appear to be dozing off. But when he starts shooting questions, you will realize he not only heard you, but he had also read the memo in advance.
He's a very good listener. He would not say much. He would allow the debate to flow. And he would intervene when he thought it is absolutely necessary. And if he felt convicted or strongly about a particular issue, he would emphasize and say either you go back and reconcile if you are two ministries that are haggling over an issue, or he would simply say that he does not agree with a certain position.
Serikali ya Rais Mwai Kibaki wakati huo ilikuwa ni ya mchanganyiko maalum ulohusisha rais na waziri mkuu waliogawana mamlaka, na pia makamu wa rais na manaibu wa waziri mkuu wakiwa juu serikalini, wakifuatiwa kiitifaki na mawaziri na wasaidizi wao. Duncan Hemba, KTN News.
Mtazamaji, tunaendelea kumkumbuka rais wa tatu wa taifa hili hayati Emilio Mwai Kibaki. Na sasa mtazamaji mwenzangu Saad Hassan atapata fursa ya kipekee kuweza kuzungumza na daktari wa rais wa tatu wa taifa hili hayati Emilio Kibaki, Dan Kikonyo. Amekuwa daktari wake kwa miaka mingi, na basi atazungumzia maisha yake na vile vile afya yake hadi siku ambayo alikata roho tarehe 22 mwezi huu. Mtazamaji, ni matangazo ambayo yako ama ni makala ambayo yako kwenye lugha ya Kimombo. Nitakuacha nayo. Tunaendelea kumkumbuka Rais Emilio Mwai Kibaki.